present for the session. So we are here for the second session today, and we have with us a very special person. And the speaker for today's session, Dr. Subhash Chandra Roy, sir. Today, on behalf of Jharkhand Rai University, I, Vanita Karmakar, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, cordially welcome you all for this faculty development program on intellectual property rights and its application hosted by Jharkhand Rai University in association with Institution Innovation Council. I think most of us are already aware of his dynamic personality as he has been with us for the yesterday's session also. And I think we are lucky enough that we have him with us all over again. So he is not new to us, but still I would like to brief a bit about Dr. Subhash Chandra Roy. He is a professor of law, dean research and development, and director, Center for Innovation Research and Facilitation in Intellectual Property for Humanity and Development in Chanakya National Law University, Patna. He did his graduation, post-graduation, and doctorate from T.M. Bagalpur University in English Literature and Law, and also PhD in IPR. Dr. Roy is an academician and believes in cult of student, a disciplined learner. He has undergone various legal training programs in environmental law, ADR, corporate law, labor, industrial law, IPR, human rights, cyber management, and the list goes on. So Dr. Roy has also credited different participation and presentation of research papers in more than 100 national as well as international seminars, workshops in India. He is on the advisory and editorial board of some of the reputed national journals also. He has authored many books with different titles. Also, he has many recognitions in his name. He has delivered around 100 special lectures in various university as resource person. He has been encouraging the younger generation like us in building new academicians and training all of us. So today, I welcome you, sir, all over again, and we are very eager to have your valuable work on the topic infringement of intellectual property rights.
Thank you. Thanks,
Yes.
everyone, the organizer of Roy University. And it's a good luck for me that I am in a position to interact with you all academicians. And I am trying to share my understanding, and I would like to learn from you that when you make queries, it hits on my mind and already answer. So therefore, it's a very good opportunity, and for this, I thank you all in the outset. Now, I would like to come to the topic, the infringement of copyright. As we have made discussion last day, that what is copyright? Copyright is right to make copies. Right to make copies means right to reproduce. This is why section 14 of the Indian Copyright Act deals with. Right to reproduce it. It can make so many pieces, and when you when you reproduce, then naturally you will communicate it, means you will publish it, means the making the copy available to the people, to the society. So publication is essential, and when you publish it, then naturally you will have economic gain out of that publication. And at the same time, the author, the creator, has right that he can distribute license, he can allow someone. As you see, that publisher who publishes is also authorized to make so many copies and distribute the same. And the publisher and the authors, they have a sharing of the royalties. At the same time, the copyright owner has rights in the language, and if it is translated unless and until the owner of the copyright allows for translation in another language, it cannot be translated. So translation rights. At the same time, adaptation. If the copyrighted work is changed from one form to another form, such as suppose someone has written novel, now it is being changed to script or drama or plot construction. So it is one form to another form. So if anyone, any person, without the permission of the author of the work, if suppose he reproduces the work, communicates the work, makes the copy available to the in the market to the society, translates the work, does anything which minimizes, abridges the work. Suppose your work novel is in 500 pages and someone is writing in 200 pages, abridges that without the permission of the author, it amounts to infringement. So infringement means violation of the rights. You are taking away the rights of the author without the permission, without license. This is very simple meaning of infringement. And we have seen that under the Copyright Act section 14, we have to see again back section 13 that where copyright subsists. Section 13 says that copyright subsists in original literary, dramatic, musical, artistic work. So we have to understand that the work must be original. Original means it should have origin in the mind of the author. Second meaning is that it should not have been copied, because if we talk about the term original, it cannot be originated as science invention. As you see that the materials, if anyone is the author, either the creative author or the researcher, two types of authors are there. Suppose novelist, they are creative writers, poets, storytellers, philosophers, they are the creative writers. But see that you are writing a research paper, it is a research work. So in both cases, creative authors, they visualize the thing, react and respond through their pen on the paper. And this is why it is known as work, literary work, dramatic work. Why there is a word work attached to? The work attached to means that it has been written or printed on a paper. It has an expression. Otherwise, simply literature. Literature means anything expressed in words or language, in any language. But literary work has been expressed in the copyrighted work. Means it has been expressed, written or printed in a work on the paper. So that first thing is that it must not be copied. If it is copied, then it has no copyright protection. So it must be originated or it must be original work. And this is why you see that if anyone is importing the copy, infringed copy from outside country, then it is also infringement. Suppose in the foreign country, TRIPS says that the term of the copyright is lifetime plus 50 years. But in India, we have lifetime plus 60 years. So when you know that and in between that, someone is producing the copy, through photostat machines and without the permission of the owner of the copyright, author of the copyright. And here, and it is exported to some other country. If it is suppose imported to India, it is also known as infringement of the copyright and it is prohibited. And this remedy it is given to in the hands of the registrar of the Copyright Act. That because it is immediate one, and it is very easy one. Immediately, the moment the author is knowing that his copies are being infringed and it is being exported to some other country, then the petition will be filed before the registrar of that country, and the registrar will take immediate action, imposing ban on the import of such infringed copy. That is infringement also. So this is why it has been included in the copyright, and it originates from the meaning. If you understand the meaning of the term copyright, then it is very easy. It originates from the author. It should not be copied. It means it should not be infringed itself. If you have infringed the material, the copyrighted work of others, you have no right, no title, because you have not invested labor, skill, and judgment. So that's why it is not your work. So that's why one has to understand Section 13 of the Indian Copyright Act 1957. Two sections, Section 14 and Section 13. Then one can move towards another important section, that is Section 17, ownership of the copyright. Who is the owner of the copyright? Because whoever is the owner, he will suffer the loss if his copyrighted work is being infringed. So who is the first author, first owner? If you are or we are working independently, freelancer, so the moment you finish the work, you are the owner of the copyright, none other person. And if anyone without my permission reproduces the thing, the work, and gains material, anything, advantage, I have right to file a suit against that person. I am the owner because I am the owner of the copyrighted work also. Sometimes it so happens that owner is somebody else. I am the employee. I am working for any university or institution, research center, and I have developed a work. Who is the owner? My employer will be the owner. And therefore, if any violates the rights under Section 14 of the Copyright Act, that is the economic right, right to translation, right to adaptation, right to abridgment, anything, then he will move to the court. He will seek remedies. So here we have to understand ownership also. Who owns the copyrightable property? Is it clear? I hope that it is clear. Then we have to understand one term also, assignment. Assignment of the copyright under Section 18 and 19, you will understand. What is assignment? Assignment means that transferring of the copyright. As you see that you assign the right to the publisher. That is assignment. There is a temporary assignment, and there will be registered and unregistered also. Sometimes you have a verbal communication, and you know that there is no such written agreement. Then there is an agreement that the publisher can have 5 years period. He can publish your book. Not later on. And in between that, if anyone infringes the copy, then the publisher can file a suit also. If it is said that yes, you can do it. Written assignment is also that one person transfers the rights to another person. There may be condition, there may not be condition. So assignee also becomes the owner of the copyright to the extent authority has been given to him. Even suppose sometimes it so happens that A is the author of the copyright, assigns the copyright to B, and the assignee files suits against A. It so happened. Why? A has assigned the right to B under the copyright and A himself is reproducing and selling. Then naturally assignee will be at loss. And the assignee can file suit against A in the infringement cases. So these aspects we have to understand. Then we can move, and we have to move under section 51. You see that it talks about the infringement. But we have to see section 52 also, which discusses about fair dealing. And a long list is there under section 52. What are fair dealing? As we have made discussion, that three rights, three interest is there: private interest, social interest, and public interest. Roscoe-Pondian theory: private interest, it is a my interest, author's interest. When I have invested labor, skill, and judgment, I have all rights to take the fruit of it. As we do cultivation, plant seeds, and grow crops, I have right to harvest. When I am planting a tree, I have right to take the fruit. Likewise, when I have invested labor, skill, and judgment, I have right to take the fruit of the result, the work under the copyright. So therefore, but this is a selfish end, and this is why people call it exclusive rights, negative rights. Actually, you know that copyright or intellectual property rights, it's an exclusive rights. I have a right to exclude others from the use of the property. When this is my property, I have right to use it. I have right to license. I have right to destroy, dispose. So many rights, which is encompassing on which is covered under the Copyright Act. That I have. I can exclude. I have right to rem, right against rem, against all persons, and as well as right to against personam, against individual. Both rights I have. Suppose people say that intellectual property right is a monopoly rights. This blame or this understanding is not proper, because there is no space for monopoly in the country. No one can have a monopoly. And you see that earlier we had Monopoly MRTP Act, Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. And that act has been deleted. And now we have a Competition Act. But in Competition Act, you will find that there is a unfair trade practices also. So the provisions of unfair trade practices, which was in the MRTP Act, has been kept in the Competition Act. So changes were there. Why monopoly to competition? Earlier you see that as a socialistic pattern of economy of our country, that prevents that you can't have a monopoly. If there is a monopoly, means one person has, authority on the production, or there is a concentration of the wealth, then there will be more poverty. So better that there should be distribution of the wealth. There can be no monopoly. So here on intellectual property, there can be no monopoly. And the property is open for research purposes, non-commercial purposes, training purposes, and a lot of list is given in this section 52 for fair dealing. And this is why the word is fair dealing. Means the person, if I am reading a book and delivering a lecture, it is a fair dealing. If the scholar is reading the book and writing a research paper and thesis, it is a fair dealing. So fair dealing is allowed, that is for social purposes. Otherwise, there will be no progression in the society, no economic development in the society. So fair dealing is essential aspect. So we have to understand whether a person is doing the work comes under fair dealing or not. If it comes under fair dealing, it is not an infringement. So third is balancing of the interest. Now the state through legislation, why does it protect? It is because to encourage the author that your fruit of labor shall not be exploited by others without your permission. If you permit, okay, propagation is there. So protection, encouragement to the author for better and better understanding, education and everything in the society. So this is why this concept is there. So understanding for the infringement, we have to understand section 14, section 13, then ownership, then we have to understand assignment, we have to understand the fair dealing under the copyrighted work, and we have to understand, then we can move towards section 51, which is known as infringement. So infringement simply is violation of the economic rights. But you see that last day we have made discussion that copyright does not only have economic rights, because when a person starts writing, his whole personality is involved. As you see that whenever you start teaching in the class, when a person merely by reading a book cannot teach, he has to understand the subject and he has to suppose teach himself, revise in mind, thinking that I am myself a student. And when he starts revising, then he gains something. The concept is evolved and then he delivers. So that's why these are the aspects one has to keep into mind. So infringement of the copyright is a significant point, but we have to understand whether it is a law for research purposes, training purposes or not. If it is there, okay, it is not an infringement. Now the thing is that if the copyrighted work is increased, is there any remedy available under the Copyright Act? Of course. When there is a guarantee of protection, then surely the violator shall be punished. So three types of remedies are available. One is civil remedies, another criminal remedies, and another administrative remedies. As I told you about the administrative remedies, that if any imported copies are, it is located, found out that if infringed copies are being imported, then okay, petition will be filed before the registrar and the registrar will take action. Administrative remedies lies with the registrar. Then what about the civil and criminal remedies? See that civil remedies, if you are a law teacher, you might be knowing that as per section 9 of the CPC, it should be a suit of civil nature. Civil remedy means that one individual is filing suit under the another who has infringed the copy. For civil remedies, that is the injunction, damage, accounts of profit, all these things are in infringement, damage, accounts of profit. So it is related to accounts of profit. This is related to civil remedies. And in this injunction means stop a person. What is stoppage? From further doing anything. You can't have a further benefit. The moment you got knowledge that someone has infringed your copy, you can't further, you will file a petition in the district court, the jurisdiction, that the person should be stopped, and you will demand infringement, injunction. And now injunction, you will have to have a knowledge of Specific Relief Act 1963. And you know very well, injunctions are of two types. One is interlocutory injunction and another is permanent injunction. Interlocutory means temporary injunction and that injunction is issued by the court up to the trial period, or this may be converted into permanent injunction if the trial is deemed to be more than longer period. Okay, so that's why interlocutory injunction, a temporary injunction, is issued by the court. So in this, whether on any petition the court will issue interlocutory injunction or temporary injunction, answer is no. You will have to see that prima facie it is a case of infringement, and if it is not stopped, the infringing party, the defendant, then the author will have an irreparable loss. And this is an urgency, and which cannot be compensated, and therefore the court can be convinced and the court issues interlocutory or temporary injunction. Mind it, up to the period of trial or up to the beginning of the trial, only that, or it may be converted after that when the court is more convinced to permanent injunction. So up to the finalization of the trial, the person who has been alleged that he has infringed the copy cannot do or use those things. So interlocutory injunction, it is allowed, and demanded remedy is there. Here in under interlocutory injunction, that is that one in foreign countries, under penal order is there, Anton Pillar order, and in this Anton Pillar order is very, very significant that the defendant is engaged in the infringed copy, infringed work, and he can he can have a more profit, he can destroy it when it is found that the infringer can destroy the copy. He can destroy the accounts, registers, etc. In such a situation, the plaintiff can demand interpenal pillar injunction in that interlocutory injunction. So this term has been brought from foreign country. That's why it was given in the case Anton Pillar AG versus manufacturing processes. It was a foreign case, so that can be imposed or requested from the court also. Another one injunction type is that Mareva injunction. Mareva injunction, in which that suppose the court, suppose the this plaintiff feels that the infringed person or the company who is doing like this can take his asset from one place to another place, can sell his asset, can change his capital from one person to another person, transfer, and he can say himself that I have nothing. And if he has nothing, then from whom the damage will be called or demanded. So this is why Mareva injunction, that okay, now your assets are freezed. In Anton Pillar injunction, that an emergency is there, the property may be, infringed copy may be damaged or destroyed. And for that, injunction is sought. In Mareva injunction, assets, entire property, his infringer's property can be seized till the decision is there. In Anton Pillar injunction, the party can enter into the premises and seize the copy also. So these are the remedies under the interlocutory injunction, or you can say injunction, and which is a very, very important immediate remedy under the Copyright Act. Another is that damage. You see that one point, just last day perhaps one person asked me that whether who has a person has written a book, it should be registered or not. There is no compulsion for the registration. You may get it registered or may not. But one thing is here, if you are demanding in the case of infringement of the copyright, you are demanding that damage be given. So the author who has got his work registered with the registrar of the copyright, only such person will be given the remedies of damage. Otherwise, he can't have. Otherwise, he has remedies under the common law principles. So one benefit of the registration is that before the filing of the infringement suit and claiming of damage, it should be registered. Another benefit is also sometimes it so happens that you are the real author of the copyrighted work and someone is saying, claiming against you that you have infringed my copyrighted work. You are the author, you are the real author, but there are so many mischievous persons in the society, they will file suit against you. They will give you notice that you have infringed my copy. Now you will be surprised. I am the author, I have done everything. How can you say? Then you have remedies. You can file a suit in the district court for declaratory degree. Declaratory degree means declare, seeking that, declare that this is my property and prevent any person claiming against my work. So this is also a benefit of registration. If it is registered, then you have a prima facie proof that your work is already registered. No one can say that it is infringed one, because registration is a process in which the moment you submit the application, it is published. If anyone can make any opposition or claim, and after the clarification from the claim or opposition, the registration is granted, and that's why you are free from such type of victimization. It so happens sometimes. So one remedies and pecuniary remedies are there, that you can have accounts of profit. If you make claim, then you can have accounts of profit. Accounts of profit means, suppose sometimes you see that you file a suit against the person and the defendant says, sir, I was not knowing that I am infringing the copy. So I am innocent. I haven't guilty mind. Okay, whatever the benefit he got, now you will say, whatever the profit you have, now give me accounts of profit. Because if you have infringed, you have reproduced, you have spent something also. So whatever is the total profit, there must be a share. So pecuniary remedies are available also and mentioned under section 5 to 58 of this act. Another thing is that we have criminal remedies also under the copyright work. And you know that why criminal remedies? Criminal remedies are there. You see that, okay, some person has infringed your copy. How has he infringed your copy? He has prepared the plate. He has a press. He is going on printing. So the criminal remedy is that seizure of those things. That not only the copy, rather seizing the apparatuses also. And in this way, one has to, one is going to protect the author property. So criminal remedies are available also in this copyrighted work. Now the question behind is that what is the difference between civil remedies and the criminal remedies? Under civil remedies, what is there? That the party makes claim against other. And there is a concept of preponderance of evidence. preponderance of evidence means that as much as you can prove, you will have a remedies. The degree of proof will decide the degree of remedies under the civil procedure code. But in the criminal procedure code, it is not that. The plaintiff has to, the prosecution has to prove absolutely. And here is one thing, reasonable doubt. See, so the prosecution has to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. And if it is proved, then there is a complete remedies. So what I said under the civil procedure code, preponderance of evidence is there, but here is absolute proof. As well as here in the criminal remedies, the prosecution which collects the evidence looks into in a different matter, in different dimensions, how the crime had been committed. In different dimensions they see. So that's why the criminal remedies is a very, very good remedies to the author of the copyright, owner of the copyright. But it takes time. This is a problem. It takes time. So there is a provision under the criminal remedies, imprisonment and other things are available, which is minimum 6 months, maximum 3 years. Okay, and fine up to 50,000 to 2 lakhs rupees. There is a fine also. One thing is also judicial approach. That judiciary will see, judges will see that what type of remedies be given. As you see, there is a flexibility, 50,000 to 2 lakh. So judiciary, there is a flexibility, approach is there. 6 months to 3 years imprisonment, there is a flexibility. One thing is that under the Copyright Act, the jurisdiction of the court is district court. So what we see that under 2012 evidence, amendment, 2 sections have been added. Section 65 capital A and section 65 capital B, which has been added. Circumstances of effective technical measures that may be applied to copies of a work with the purpose of protecting any of the rights conferred under the Act. The punishment under this provision is imprisonment that may extend to 2 years and payment of a fine. Section 65 capital A has been inserted in the 2012 amendment. As you see that if there is an online infringement nowadays, there are a lot of online infringement, and one word is there related to the online infringement, that is Norwich Pharmacal Order. I told you Anton Pillar Order, Mareva Order, injunction, or you can say Pharmacal Order. Why Pharmacal Order? This Pharmacal Order is also the development of US. When there is an online infringement, and nowadays there is a threat of online infringement because online materials are available, what remedies are there? It is termed as Pharmacal Order, and it was implemented for the first time in the case Hyderabad, Souza Cruz versus N.K. Jain case. It was enforced by the Indian court, which is also known as, Hollywood case. And although it was a matter related to cigarette that was being imported online, so this was a case, and this is an order. So 3 orders are there: interlocutory order, Anton Penal Order, Mareva Order, and Pharmacal Order. So these are the things which requires to understand. And what I said, and just I would like to revise, that if you want to understand subject matter of infringement, you have to understand first section 14, the copyright. Then you have to understand subject matter of the copyright under section 13, that it must be original. It should not be copied or infringed one. Then one has to understand the ownership, then assignment. Then one can understand, one have to understand section 52, that is the fair dealing. Then you can come to section 51 and then remedies, civil remedies, criminal remedies, administrative remedies. So this is all about. Now, I think that there should be a discussion, question, answer, so that further understanding can be developed.
Right. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for such insightful delivery. And I'm sure that all the participants are delighted by your speech. Some of the key points which were put forward by you were about the basics of infringement under Section 51 and how violation of economic rights are done and what are the subject of matter of copyright, ownership of copyright, assignments, what are the laws of infringement. Also, you have discussed about fair dealing and exclusive rights, balancing of interest. You have also discussed elaborately about the remedies also, which is a very important part, because if we don't know about the remedies, then it is not good enough. So you have discussed different remedies, civil, criminal, administrative. So I think every point you have touched it very clearly. And now moving on to the next session, I would like to take up the questions put forward by the participants one by one. Okay. So the first question is, why we use the C symbol? Is it the symbol also have copyright? Is the symbol also have copyright?
Please repeat the question.
Why do we use the C symbol? C symbol means C in a circle. C symbol. It's in the comment section. Yeah.
Fees involved. What it is? Fees.
C. Sir, you can check in the chat box also the C symbol.
C symbol.
Is it the symbol for copyright?
Oh, C involved.
Right,
C
right.
is added here. It is a symbol of the copyright. It's a symbol of the copyright. What
Yes.
is there?
Is the symbol also
Why
have
do you
copyright?
use symbol? Is the symbol also have a copyright? No, symbol does not have a copyright, but C signifies copyright. That someone has a copyright. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that was a tricky
symbol
question.
does not have a copyright. Rather, it is the for that yes, only mentioning that such and such person has a copyright.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So I see the next question. How do I copyright something?
How do I copyright something?
Yeah. Like how to, what are the procedures
How do
to
I
go for?
copyright something?
Yes.
See, I last day also, if you remember my discussion, whenever you write anything, you have a copyright.
Right.
You need not to disclose it. It can remain as a manuscript at your home. You have a copyright. And there is no compulsion that you will have to get it registered. As I told you last day, the difference between the copyright and the patents, that if you disclose the invention, the government or the patent office grants you rights, and this is known as patent. Why? Because letter patentia, open letter. From that Latin term, we have a term patent. So through the open disclosure, when you disclose as a quid pro quo, you are granted rights. If you don't disclose, you have a trade secret. But in the case of copyright, There is no such division or different classification, whether you disclose it or not. Suppose you might have heard about that so many authors died before publication of the book. Even Bentham could not publish his book in his lifetime. It was published in 1932. Later on, after Austin, had that book been published in his lifetime, he could have become the father of analytical school. So see that the great authors, so many people, they could not publish during their lifetime. It is in the manuscript, handwritten form, but it still has a copyright. It cannot be taken away. So registration nowadays is optional. Of course, there is a motivation that you get it registered. As I told you that you cannot have a damage unless it is registered under the Copyright Act. So your question that how do I copyright something? This is of no, there is no question. Immediately you have a copyright. It is your work. That's good. Yes, if you want, then you go for the registration. It is optional. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir. I see the next question. How long does a copyright last?
Lifetime plus 60 years. Lifetime of the author, and after his death, 60 years. If there is a joint authorship, suppose two people A and B, three C are jointly writing something, then after the death of last author, last A, B, C, three authors, A died, B died, C died, and you know that after that 60 years, means suppose A died in 2000, B died in 2010. So even then, up to the lifetime of B and C, copyright will continue. B died in 2010, C died in 2020. Then the copyright will be vested in their successors. And the succession rights will be as per the, equality principle or as per their agreement will go there. Suppose 3 to 2 or suppose the 10, if you are dividing 6, 3, 1, that was the ratio. 5, 3, 2 was the ratio. 5 is to 3 is to 2, 10. Of 100 rupees. So in this case, the successors will have the rights also in that ratio. So the term of the copyright is lifetime plus 60 years. And in the case of joint authorship, that will vest, after the death of last author. Even the single author is alive, copyright will continue.
Okay.
Clear?
Okay, sir. I see all the comment section with thanksgiving for your presentation, and I'm sure that all the participants are way too satisfied with all your answers. So I would like to thank you so much for your presence today with us. And definitely your presence had an extra, added an extra glow to our FDP. Okay, so looking forward. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks all. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, now all the participants are requested to kindly fill up the feedback form and solve the assessment uploaded in the Moodle platform. That is very important. Those who have missed the earlier assessment, please kindly solve the assessment. And an important announcement for all the participants for tomorrow's session, which starts at 10 a.m. sharp. Session 1 will be taken by Advocate Sandigdha Mishra, advocate at Delhi High Court and Supreme Court. Session 2 will be taken up by Advocate Nirankar Singh, advocate UP High Court Bench, Lucknow. So happy learning. Last but not the least, thanks to all the organizers, the convener Khalida ma'am, thank you so much for organizing it pretty well, and to the technical support team, Amrendra sir and Ashish sir, thank you so much. Thanks to each and every participant for being patiently joined for this session. I hope you all had enjoyed the session as well as it had been an interactive one for all of you. So with this note, I am signing it off. I, Vanita Karmakar, signing off for today. Thank you. Thanks all.